Hey everybody, it's Libby with Fearlessness. What is fearlessness? Well, it's the underlying grit as we have as entrepreneurs that really empowers us to forge ahead. Even when hope seems distant, it's the courage to walk through those fires of hell, knowing that we'll come out better and stronger on the other side. Stay tuned and learn how to get fearlessness. I'm your host, Libby DeLucian. And today we have a very special guest, and I'm excited to talk to him about his rebrand journey. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Matt Green. We started 20 as Green's Lawn Care, but I grew up very poor, but that taught me a lot of things about life and, like not having water on at the house, not having electricity on, like these types of things teaches you a lot about life. And that's really helped me in this journey of lawn care and entrepreneurship. And but aside from business, I'm married and have two awesome daughters. One can't stop talking right now, and one hasn't started talking yet. So
Enjoy it right now, because my daughter will not
super
stop
fighting.
talking. I love that story about, how you grew up as a kid. You grew up, not super well off. So do you think that you're not going to spoil your daughters?
I was it's so interesting. Like things have happened in the last 2 days where like you either have this thought or a dream, and like all of a sudden it's happening. And I was thinking about that exact question. It was either yesterday on my walk or because I walk a lot, walk about 7 miles a day, and or was it? I don't know, but it was that exact same thing. Like does the struggle make the person? And would I have been the same leader as I am today and business owner, not willing to give up if I didn't go through the struggle? So do you like give your kids a great life, or do you just live a mediocre life until they and let them learn it, and then once they get out on their own, then maybe you live this miraculous life? Like maybe you buy that dream house, maybe you buy the dream cars like once they're out of the house, or do you let them see it? you know. But if they don't struggle, they don't get that same drive that I got. But there's a lot of people that are super successful that never struggled a day in their life. They were fed with a golden spoon and they're still successful. I don't know. I don't know what that common denominator is what makes somebody truly successful. I know
It's,
it drove
yeah,
me like, because
absolutely.
I guaranteed I never wanted to be back in that situation again.
So I 100% agree, because as a kid, we weren't well off and it drove me. But the other thing that it does too, though, is it doesn't make me scared of not having money, which I think is also a bad thing, because you're like, oh, I could do it again, or I can be okay. Like if something happens, instead of saying, no, I will not put up with it, or I'll never like,
That's true too, because like I have those same exact feelings. I'm like, some people's risk tolerance is really high. My risk tolerance is pretty high. And some people are super conservative. They're the hey, save a penny, person. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit because like I'll risk it all because I know I can grow it again. But that makes you make some bad decisions sometimes.
well, I'm rereading the book Think and Grow Rich. I'm on this
Mhm.
journey of like reading the chapters over and over and over. It's kind of not reading it to read it. I'm reading it to study it.
Right.
And so it's like the last chapter in there, and it talks about how it's your mindset with money. But if you're okay with the thought of saying, oh, I could just do it again, I'm okay. Like, I don't have to pay myself. I'll rather like put it into the company, instead of saying, I will not tolerate it. It changes that success factor to saying, because it's our fallback plan subconsciously.
Right. No, I get that. But like, would I have at the same time that I made a decision to rebrand, would I have done that if I wasn't risk tolerant?
I know.
You know?
So it's like
Like
a,
I was willing to put it down because I would talk to marketing people and they would say, "Look, man, I don't know what's going to happen next year. No one knows what Google's going to do. You change your whole brand, you change your whole name. Maybe you're not even on the first page of Google anymore. Like maybe you're not any of this stuff." And I was like, "I don't give a shit. Let's do this. Like
yeah.
I'm all in on this thing, And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then like we have contingency plans. Like that's why we're doing TV, we're doing radio, and we're doing a lot of billboards this year. Like, what if we do this rebrand and we drop off the first page of Google?
Yeah.
Like, typically I would never do billboards, I would never do radio, and I would never do TV, but like, what happens? What if, you know,
And it's
we got
funny
to have
because
other
we
marketing
are
channels in.
we are risk junkies. I just interviewed Marvin Salcido on the podcast before that. We were talking about risk, and I told him I was going to put him through an intervention of buying companies, of acquisitions. It's like- and
Yeah.
there's a part of us that do it for the thrill of it. Like it makes us feel alive, right? Or excited, or like the unknown. It
Yeah.
makes us like what it's that fearlessness. It's like we have no idea what the other side looks like, but we're okay going through it.
Yeah. 100%. And
Yep.
sometimes that makes you frustrated with people that work with you that don't have that risk tolerance, like, hey, just go do this. And they're like too scared to do it. And you've been through this so many times, you're just like, it's not that big a deal, just go do it. But it is a big deal to them. Like, they don't have that same mindset.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you a
So,
few questions about rebrand,
yeah.
right? This is an entrepreneur podcast, the journey, like the rebrand. What do you think was the number one mistake you made in deciding to rebrand? Like, what did you not think through, or what was harder than you thought?
Well, we never considered the so the timeline was there originally, but we never considered delays in the original, like, branding getting done, causing delays all the way down the road. And so now, um, I never considered, like, not having this stuff done in time for it to roll out to the market and to our customer base, letting them know. But we had an early spring this year. Like, it is abnormally warm right now, and we've been out taking care of properties. And we're still taking care of properties under our previous branded vehicles. And, like, because typically spring doesn't come this early for us. And so the website's not even done yet. And so we were hoping to have all this stuff done so then we can push into the market, and all the trucks were already wrapped correctly. The roadside was done. And so everybody knows this stuff. Like, there's a lot of things. I've never done a rebrand, so a lot of stuff that I've learned. Um, but those were some big things. We get a lot of calls right now. It's like, hey, is this still the same company that it used to be? And we have to explain to them, yes. But how many people, like, know our name? Because we built a really, really good brand. We have hundreds and hundreds of Google reviews across different locations on Google. So we have this reputation, and people talk about Green's Lawn Care on Nextdoor and on Facebook groups just organically. But then they come and they type in Green's Lawn Care, and Blue Duck comes up, and they're just like really confused. So we should have done more pushing out into the market of this name change and doing some PR stuff, and but it's too late now. I feel like we're already here.
So why did you decide to rebrand? So tell everybody what your old brand name was and what the new one is, and why did you decide to rebrand? And then I'm going to ask you why you went with the Blue Duck. I already know the story, but I want you to share it.
Yeah. So we were Green's Lawn Care and Property Services, and that's what we started as. And so when
How
I
many
first
years?
started, we started in 2017, so this is going in our 8th year. We're starting our 8th year. And so we've been Green's Lawn Care for 7 years now and built a really good reputation. But I didn't understand anything about business when I started this. Like, it's a known story that I've told. When I started, I didn't even know what COGS were. I'd never even heard of the name cost of goods sold. I'd never heard about that term when I started in business, you know? And, but it was just out of that, like, not knowing better. You just got to jump in, it's one of those risk things, just got to jump in feet first. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper all these different names, like 30 different names. And we were sitting at a bar one night with some friends, and everyone circled the name that they liked the best. And it happened to be Green's Lawn Care and Property Services. But then, you go to this, now you got to build a website. Well, you don't want it to be Green's Lawn Care and Property Services.com, because no one's going to type that in. And everyone's going to absolutely hate sending you an email because they got to type at, and then 5 minutes later, they're done with the email address. So I never considered these things. And so we started this. Now, to do it again, I probably would have chose a better name from the get-go. But there's probably 50 other Greens Lawn Care or Greens somethings in our market space.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Green Vista, Greenscapes, Green Image,
Yeah.
Green, like all green, there's like at least 50 different companies in our area.
But your last
And
name is
so,
actually Green. So, hey,
yeah,
tell them to back
we're the only
off.
ones that should have been Greens. But uh, yeah, I told them at one point I was just going to pop their tires, and they didn't listen to that. So it was an empty threat, unless they changed their name. But, going to that, we spent an insane amount of money last year in marketing. We spent 15% of our P&L. And nobody would
Wow.
ever recommend that. I'm not recommending that again. But we spent 15% of our P&L on marketing last year. Massive amount of money. And when I started engaging this professional branding company, they said that we're only getting 60 to 70% ROI on all that money that we're spending. Because people might remember it when they see a lawn sign or whatever, green landscaping, green lawn care, like they might remember that amount of it. And then we just pissed that money away. It gave it to somebody else, whoever came up that day on Google first. Now we dominate Google. We rank really well. So that's a good thing for us. But at the same point, it's like, man, wouldn't it be awesome to control all of that marketing spend and actually get a return on it? I mean, our cost per acquisition last year was insanely high for a lawn care company.
Yeah,
Insanely
because
high.
you're giving it or you're exposing it to everyone else who has the name Green in
Yeah.
their
So we were giving
in their
everybody free money last year.
So I want all the house cleaning and cleaning companies to hear that, right? If every one of you have the same word cleaning or maids in your name, you're sharing that market space.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're going to be known as Blue Duck now. So that's the new brand, Blue Duck Lawn Care. And so it's in the process of getting trademarked and copyrighted. So there will be no other Blue Duck Lawn Care in the United States. And so now when we market that, we are going to be the only Blue Duck. I think when we were searching for domains, there's another Blue Duck, but they're an airline. Like Go Blue Duck is some regional airline that I've never even heard of. And I think there was like one other Blue Duck something. Had nothing to do with our space. So it's going to be great. And it's a
Yeah.
great brand. It's going to be very well known.
So I just trademarked. It's in the final steps. Organize it for the service industry because no one has done that yet. Oddly enough, so we do tight, organizing and cleaning, but because it's not a common name of what we call cleaning companies, and we do organizing, I was able to trademark the term. So watch out.
It makes total sense.
And I love that the name of my business is different because it stands out. And so it's like when you call the office, it's like, how can we tidy your day? Tidy and clean and
Interesting.
organized. They kind of all coincide.
Well, it's one of those things that makes people think like, did I really just hear that? When they say Blue Duck Lawn Care, you're like, what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, there's no such thing as a blue duck. And what does a blue duck have to do with like making my lawn look great? So it's just one of those like oxymoron type things that like makes people think. And at the end of the day, that's what you pay a branding company like lots and lots of money to come up with these brands. I mean, it's because they're great at that kind of stuff. I
Oh
would
yeah,
never like
I know who you used, and it's lots of
I would
money,
never
but they're very good.
yeah, yeah. So that was a risky business decision over the winter
Yeah.
time because what you pay him is only a small part of what it really costs to. Like we were working with you guys today, with WooRecruit
Oh,
on having to rebrand all of WooRecruit now.
oh yeah, you have to
Like
rebrand all
I
your
never even
sites, your funnels, your
got to
links.
redo all the videos that we made, all the videos we made specific for WooRecruit for you guys to put on that like landing page thing. We got to make all those again. We got to make everything all over again.
And you need a new damn
You think
shirt
about
because you can't make a video with that shirt on.
I know, exactly. So now it's even longer. But I didn't even think about I'm sure you guys think about this, but I didn't even think about WooRecruit when we were going through this rebranding thing. Like, oh shit, we're gonna have to do this and all these videos, like
Yeah.
didn't even cross my mind. I had thought about like the stationery, the things that we're gonna do at the trade show, like that stuff was like, yeah, we're gonna have to change all this. But eventually as you go, you start seeing all these other things that are just left out that add up,
Oh,
It's crazy.
100%. So why did you choose Blue Duck?
So I had a very similar story to a famous movie that's out there. And when I was in elementary school, I vividly remember, I don't remember the teacher's name, but I remember the clock. I could go back to the school and take you right back to the classroom. As we had to draw in the lines. You know, when you were a kid and you were learning how to draw in the lines of shapes and stuff and not draw it color outside. And so she made drew a duck on a paper, and I drew it blue, and everyone else drew a yellow duck. And it's like, well, I've never really seen a yellow duck either, but I got an F on it because she said there's no such thing as a blue duck. And funny thing is, there is such thing as a blue duck. You can buy a Swedish blue duck online, and I almost
Oh,
want to
are you
buy
going to
one
buy
just for
some
I
for the
kind of want
office?
to, but
Should buy one for like
our
you could have
lease
an office
says,
pet.
our lease says we actually have 3 dogs in the office that some of our teammates bring in. But we're not supposed to have dogs. But there's nothing in the lease that says we can't have ducks.
There you go.
So maybe we'll just have some ducks walking around. I don't know. That'd be pretty funny.
I think you should buy at least one blue
Anyway,
duck.
so we made this blue duck, and it's super memorable. It sits like 6 foot tall on the side of our vans. And so whenever our team is out working, they park next to the house, and kids absolutely love it. And then we also we printed these things up. These are our old ones, but these are like little stickers. Kids love it. Like my daughter absolutely loves these types of things. And so our teammates, our team will give these out to kids. Like they'll
And
see
how
them.
about the other
They
duck
just keep
you told me about?
yeah, we have. I don't have one on my desk here, but we have like these little rubber duckies that kids can put in. Like my daughter has these ducks that when she's taking a bath, she like plays with all these little rubber duckies, and so we give those out. You know, and so it's super memorable, and it sits on the side of the truck, and so that's why we love it. Because parents are going to do parents spend an ungodly amount of money on their kids. And if we can touch into that and we give good results, but we also make their kids happy, that seems like a no brainer.
Yeah,
Like they're going to never
absolutely.
hire us. You know,
So we'll put some of the information so that you can find Matt and Blue Duck Lawn Care in the show notes. But as far as your entrepreneur journey, all the things that you've been through, the rebrand, what would you say that you would tell the younger version of yourself? Like if you had any of this to do over again, what's the advice or maybe the advice you're going to give your daughters if they want to start a business?
you know what I struggle with this because I don't know if I would give them really business advice. Like you probably do know this right now just from following me on Facebook, but I'm in this health journey again,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I'm losing a ton of weight. I've already lost almost 45 pounds. My goal is a lot bigger than that, well over 100 pounds. But I was in incredible shape coming out of college. I was one of the 3 finalists to make the inside cover of Men's Fitness magazine. Like I was in really, really good shape.
We might have to
And
see those pictures, Matt.
well, no, I wasn't like a bodybuilder, but I had lost a ton of weight. So it was like there were a story on this weight loss. I had lost 130 pounds in 13 months. And so it was a story on those type of inspirational journeys. So I had lost all this weight before. And then I started this business. I got out of the field. I'm sitting in the office. And the early days of starting a business, it's no such 9 to 5. It's 100, 130. How many ever hours you can stay awake? That's what you're working in the beginning. Because you're running every single estimate. You're doing all the jobs. You're doing, all the computer work. You're dealing with the taxes. Everything. It's you. And then eventually you get some people that help you. But then I start sitting at this chair. And I went from 185 pounds back up past where I was in college to 369 and a half pounds. So in November, I was over 369 pounds. And so now I'm on this weight loss kick going back. But it got to a point where I almost needed a nap in the middle of the day just to stay awake. Like that's how much energy I was using just trying to think. And I couldn't even stay awake. And it's like, how can you make great decisions? Because every decision that a leader makes, it's not just it's no longer about you anymore. It's no longer a small decision. Every decision you make affects every other person and every other family and every other child within that family that you're responsible for now. And I couldn't even stay awake for a whole day before I needed a nap. And I was like, how in the world can I make a decision for, a team member's child? Because everything affects them at some
Mhm.
way. His pay, we make a bad decision, like it affects that person. So like, how can I make great decisions if I can't even stay awake for a whole day almost? And so then I started this journey of like losing weight again and like getting all this energy so I have more mental clarity. And I hope just from other people seeing it, I don't post a whole lot about it on social media, but I hope just it changes somebody's life. And then maybe my daughters will see it, and then they will want to spend more time, being outside. And now, granted, my oldest one's 3.5 years old. Like, she's probably not going to remember it anyways. But, you know, maybe she will. Maybe she'll start wanting to be more active I mean, she's super active right now. But maybe it'll make those little changes in her life too. And so maybe she won't go down the same rabbit hole I did. Because I've done it now. This is gonna be my second time. I don't want to have to lose over 100 pounds ever again in my life. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I think one of the hardest things, like you said, is we're in the field, we're doing it. Then we get stuck in a chair. And when I first started being stuck in that chair, my brain and my feelings were like, my God, I'd rather go organize a house or scrub a toilet than sit in this chair for another
Yeah.
6 or 8 hours. I
And
gained, oh, go ahead.
you were really good at this. I think you talked about this early on. This is something that you did that you were definitely, I believe this is accurate, way ahead of your time. In that, when you first get that first person, you just have them like sit right here. They're your buddy. They watch everything, and then you're like, okay, go do that. And then they can do this for a little bit. But as you know from running a recruiting company, the average person stays, I don't even know what the stat is anymore, but like 3 to 5 years they might stay at a company before they move on. So you might have 3 years of time with that person, and then you have to go, and that's if you're lucky. And then most times, the first people you hire, they might last 2 months or maybe, like
Maybe.
tons of turn. And so you're like constantly training these people and training these people, as opposed to like, what if you just documented it from the beginning? And I think you mentioned that you documented stuff like really early on. And so
Yes.
it's like, okay, here's a video, here's a document or an SOP. This is how you do it. Go run with it. Now I finally learned that like maybe we should start doing that.
Oh, so I will say that's my jam. That's probably my superpower is the way we document stuff. But when I started sitting in that chair for 6 or 8 hours, I got myself out of the field. It was like a whole different misery of sitting there.
Yeah.
And then I think I had gained like 50 pounds. I have now lost it
Mm-hmm.
because, I was lucky enough to have mentors around us. Well, we had the same mentor for a little while being in SA Academy with Jonathan. He was always into fitness. I think he's going to live forever. Or so he wants to live forever. So he says.
Yeah.
But then,
Wouldn't
I had
surprise me.
another mentor, and he always is like, your health and your marriage comes first. Because without those things, he's like, if you think running a business is expensive or a failing business, try getting a divorce. Is his statement.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see that.
but then he has the statements like belt buckles and bank accounts. One must go up for the other to. One must go down for the other to go up. Right? They can't both go
Yeah,
up. And
true.
so it's this phrase. He's always on stage saying bank account, belt buckles and bank accounts. And so he's always into fitness. And it's gotten to the point to where he barely teaches us now about business because he's teaching us about health, mental health and physical health, because we can't make decisions. We can't operate at our peak or prime if we're not physically and mentally healthy.
There at the end of Academy, well, that's exactly, that's very interesting you just said that. I think I know who you're talking about. But with JP, it's the same thing. Like, they're near the end, it stopped being more about all the business stuff and started being more about the health stuff. And, a lot of people go get these coaches. And now for me, I need a coach just for accountability. Like, I'll put that out there. But most of us, for the most part, I mean, there's some things that you don't know, but for the most part, you've been around long enough. You know how to grow your business. You know everything that you need to do for the most part. You don't really need that coach, you know, but you need them to keep you accountable. And I wonder if that's why they stopped talking as much about business, because you already know that stuff, like you already know what you need to do. But what about the health stuff? Like, do they see in their community, like, man, there's all these people that aren't focusing on that. I need to shift, my message to this community that listens to me and I have influence over, to start thinking about these things. Because what if you got to a place where you had 10 million, 50 million, 100, doesn't even matter at that point, millions of dollars in the bank, or that's your net worth, but you're like so overweight that you can't ever do anything with it. You can't enjoy going, on a cruise or a hike, or you just want to sit in your house and just, like, what's the point of having all this if you can never use it?
But I also
You can
think
never
that
enjoy the fruits.
statistically, it's going to be really hard to get to that much money if you are that overweight because you cannot operate, you cannot make clear decisions. And that's why they say like they don't coincide,
Yeah.
or one must go up for the other to go down. Because I don't, it would be really hard to be a high functioning CEO if that was the case.
Yeah. And I think Jeff Bezos, he said you only get like 3 decisions. I believe he said one time, I was listening to a podcast he was on. He said, you only get 3 decisions a day, like really high level decisions. I mean, you're going to make a lot of other decisions, but your brain can really focus on 3 high level decisions. And that's if you're healthy and like you have mental clarity. And he's dealing with problems that are like way bigger, like we can't even fathom probably. And so, but what if you only had those 3? But what if you were like super unhealthy and now you only get like 1 decision a day? Like, isn't that
It's going to
interesting
slow
thing
the
to think?
growth of your business down.
Like he doesn't even. I heard him also say on top of that, you get 3 decisions, but he will never talk first in any meeting. He was always the last person to talk because he has too much influence in his business. And if
Mm-hmm.
he talks first, most people also, they won't tell the truth of what they're really thinking because they don't want to go against him. So if he says something, everyone's going to move their decision of what they were going to say, and Amazon would never have been what it was, potentially.
Have you ever read the book, his autobiography?
No, I haven't.
He's a crazy dude, man. I mean, he's
Oh,
great. It was an interesting
yeah,
biography because some of the things and the ways that they came up with, like the Alexa and some of the very innovative things that they've come up with. He has a strategy for it. It's not very nice.
I'll have to get it. I'll have to listen to it
So he
for
has a
sure.
strategy. It's pretty much where they lock themselves somewhere and they cannot come out until they have thought of it. So it's like he forces the innovation. He forces, but they lock themselves in a room. And I think in the biography they talk about they even spent a Christmas locked in the room because they hadn't gotten to it yet.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't feel bad for them all because I bet everybody that was locked in a room makes well over $500,000 a year. So they brought it on themselves, taking that level of a job.
Absolutely. So, when I said what was the advice you give your younger self or your daughters, is it going to be more around health and
Yeah.
then business?
You know, it's going to be. I also there's 2 things: health and follow your dreams, follow your passion. And because this was a passion of mine, like growing a business, like that was a dream of mine, a passion of mine. But most people, if you just want to go out and start a business, but you're not really passionate about it or what you're doing, you're never going to be able to survive all of the shit that comes at you and the sleepless nights and how you're going to make payroll this week. Like you're never going
Mm-hmm.
to survive that. You'll just give up. And my football coach, I never, you never understand people's wisdom in the time. You typically understand somebody's wisdom, 10, 20, 30 years, past when they actually told it to you. And he always told me to follow your passion, follow your dreams, and the money will follow it. And at that time, I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like I was mowing yards at that time. Like I actually enjoy mowing. Most people probably don't, but I enjoyed it. I enjoy doing what I do. And through school, everybody was saying, like, if you don't go to college, like, you're a loser. Like, you got to go to college. I mean, that was what was brainwashed into us. And I don't think that they're that negligent anymore of telling every student that, you don't go to college, you're a loser. But that's what we were told. So I go to college, don't use any of it. I end up back in the thing that I was passionate about back then, and making money and giving back to people and finding that true why in your life. And if you can find that, and you like, you would do that, whatever you could do, if you would do it for free, like the money will always follow it, you know? Like there will be some way that you can monetize that, and then nothing can stop you at that point. Like I've been trying, my
Absolutely.
brother loves to hike. I was like, and he's always lived off the grid kind of thing. I was like, why don't you just like document like you hiking the Appalachian Trail? Or like, you could write a blog about this. You could document it. You could like help other people, this could be their life goal. Like you could help take people there. And I was like, that would be a business that you could do that you could survive on, and you would absolutely love it. It was like you would never work a day in your life, you
Absolutely.
know?
I love
Yeah.
that because I
I
think
think that's what you have to
motivation,
find.
but motivation is short. It isn't like it's short lived. It burns, it fizzes out after a while, right? You have to have that passion, like you said. And I've been there where like, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll or I'm not going to pay myself this week.
Yeah.
um, and that's not
But it's
for
that
everybody.
passion, that drive, the why, that's what keeps you going.
And, I don't know about you with your wife, but like Chris watches me, especially at the beginning, going through stuff and not can't really like he supports me 100%, but he doesn't understand how I can deal with the stress and it doesn't eat me alive from the inside out because it's not for
Oh,
everybody.
same. No. Yeah. Same here. Like I don't manage any like personal finance. Like my wife does all the personal finance, and I do the business stuff. And um, like if she ever asked me, like she could look at, I have no like, she could look at the business finances. I could care less. But I don't think that she couldn't handle the day to day like flows and like all the cash flow stuff. Like it would drive her nuts. It would
Yeah,
it would just cause so much anxiety, you know.
absolutely.
And it's not a knock at her, it's just like not everybody can deal with it, you know.
No,
I'm a quick start, like I can move and groove like really easy. A lot of people can't do that.
I want to ask you about, you said giving back. And so I want you to share a little bit about how you give back. I love what you're doing, but I want you to share it with the listeners and, how did it get started and what exactly is it?
So I'm the president of the board of this nonprofit called the Lawnmower Project. And so Gary and myself kind of came up with this project together, but it came up out of COVID. And so he was bored. He works restaurant jobs, typically is what he's been doing most of his life. He's done some other things in there. But as you know, and during COVID, like, well, all the restaurants shut down, at least for a good period of time. So he didn't have anything to do. And so he's driving down the street one day and he sees this person, they like left out a lawnmower on the side of the road. And so he's like, I'm bored, I have nothing to do. I'll pick it up. I'll go see if I can fix it. He jumped on YouTube and he made it work. And he calls her OG. And he still has this mower and he puts it on display at his shop now. And so he still has OG. And, but he fixed it up. He watched a YouTube video, fixed it up. And he was like, interesting. I wonder how many people throw a lawnmower away, even though all it typically needs is like a very easy carburetor clean, which might take you 5 minutes. But a normal person doesn't know that, so they go and spend $300-400 on a brand new one when they could have just fixed the old one. So as he's driving around, he finds these mowers, and he would pick them up, and then he would fix them, and then I would see him put them on Facebook. Hey, anybody know of somebody in need, or an elderly person, something like this, that they can't afford to buy a new mower? It's free. I'll just drop it off. So he did like 10 of these things. And so I messaged him. I was like, Gary, like, this could be super awesome. Let's go get lunch. And so a few months later, we went and we had lunch, and I showed him this master plan of like, what if we like teach young youth that want to be entrepreneurs how to build a business through mowing grass? And he was like, okay, tell me more. So we go and meet with kids. Like he has made connections with local schools. So we talk to kids in alternative classrooms. So the people who aren't the ones that are going to listen to the teacher and sit down and shut up. That's what I call them. They're not the kids that are just going to sit down, shut up, and listen, memorize stuff. Like
That's most of the
these are the kids
entrepreneurs
that
in the
beat to their
world.
own drum. These are the kids that beat to their own drum. And when we go and talk to them, I said, maybe not this classroom, but the next person that changes the world is is sitting in a classroom just like this somewhere in the country. You know, most of the entrepreneurs are going to come out of this room because they don't fit in this box. They're going to beat to their own drum. They're going to make it happen. And so we go and we meet with these classrooms. We usually talk in like, I don't know, 7 different classrooms maybe in the springtime. We recruit these kids. They have to fill out a job application, essentially, make a video, why they want to do this. And then we teach them how to run a little business. We give them a mower. It's part of like, these are mowers that have been donated. Gary fixes them up. We give it to them. We teach them marketing. We teach them sales. We teach them accounting. We teach them all these different things. And we've gone out, and I have a lot of connections. And so I will go out, like our mentor. I had him create he created like an hour-long training on marketing for free. And we get like, so we've gotten those level of people who are experts in their industry to talk about marketing, finance, budgets, all this kind of stuff. And then we serve it to them, these kids, on a, not a dumbed down level, but a level that they can understand. I mean, you're talking about like 13, 14, 15-year-olds, you know? And so it's got to be at a level where they can understand. And so they start learning business. And there's a guy that's on the board, and he has a $300 million engineering company. Like they do like nuclear engineering now, like crazy stuff. But he associates his insane company with pushing a lawnmower when he was 15 years old. And so we tell him like, hey, just because we're teaching you through lawn care, that doesn't mean that you have to do lawn care the rest of your life. Business principles are business principles. If you want to be a welder, you want to be a beautician, you want to be a cleaner, you want to, whatever you want to do, you can take these basic principles and you can start your own business when you know, get a little bit older. And so we typically take under 10 kids a year, because after you get too many kids, it's really hard to manage them and like actually make it meaningful and you know, all that kind of stuff. That's what the Lawnmower Project is.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I wanted to do something like that with house cleaning because this supply costs are so low, but you could teach them the business part of it. But I have a question, because this is what a lot of people are probably thinking in their head. You're creating competitors in your own area, essentially. Yeah. They may be 14 or 15 years old, but so a lot of business owners struggle with this fear. It's fear of like criticism, fear of competition. Like, does that bother you whatsoever?
You know, do you think Michael Jordan ever got to be Michael Jordan without amazing competition around him?
Heck no.
So like, we're never going to be anything if we try to eliminate the competition. Like, competition just makes us a better person, a better entrepreneur. It makes your skills better. But no, like, we are not competing with these kids at all. Trust me.
Absolutely not.
Our customer and their customer are totally different. We've actually had people call in. Yeah, like I started that way. Like, we were like poor growing up. Like, I started mowing lawns with my 2 brothers and my mom when I was 9 years old, because just to afford, you know, food on the table and pay the electricity bill. Like, I understand the hustle and the grind. And like, we used to get people when we mowed lawns that they would ask, hey, should we hire you or should we hire the kid down the street? And I'm like, I'm removing my proposal from this. I don't want to compete with that kid. Give him your money. He needs that life lesson way more than I need your money. Like, I would love to help you, but now that you said that there is a kid that could learn a valuable lesson, and I mean, when they're that young, like, that's when they're making all these changes, and they're just a sponge, and they need to learn these life lessons. I'm like, I don't want your money anymore. Not a chance. Give it to that kid. And if he has any questions, have him call me, and I'll help him out as much as he wants.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think there's a place for everybody, for everything. I just did a YouTube video for Organize It on like, why is someone $85 and I'm $200?
Yeah.
But there's also a place in life, because I started that way too. I was the $85 cleaner. But as we grow up and as the customer changes, their needs change. And that's when companies are a better fit versus the solopreneur or the kid around the corner. Because we have more to protect and we have more liability now and more assets versus, you know, maybe that's all they can afford is the $85 cleaner and they just need help. And I
Well,
appreciate that person because there is a place for everybody in every type of company.
yeah. And not everybody is as blessed as I am. Like I'm in Indiana or Indianapolis, and the whole like metro area, we have like I think the last stat was like 2.6 or 2.9 million people. So like you don't need like there's so many people, so many households. Like it's insane. Like so the biggest lawn care company in Indianapolis, it's local or was local as of last year. They sold, but they had like 20 or 30,000 accounts, and they were huge, like in our area, the biggest local company in Central Indiana, and they only had 20 or 30,000 accounts out of 2.9 million people. So the sea is so big that it really doesn't matter. I mean, the people that buy from you are buying you, so like make yourself a better person, a better company, and they're going to buy from you. I think I've gained this reputation, which is really interesting in our area. A lot of people ask me questions, like they'll message me, and I don't even know some of these people. And I'm happy to meet with them. Some guy called me out of the blue, and he asked me about vole control and mole control at a house. And the customer wanted to hire him. Like he already had the account and he just wanted to do this. He had no idea how to do it. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll meet you over there at like 1:00. This was last week. So went over there, met with him and the customer, sold the job for him, taught him how to do the thing. And the customer thought that I was the business. I was like, no, man, I've never even met this guy. I never talked to him. I was like, no, this is just my buddy. I'm helping him out.
Yeah.
And it's like, how cool is that? To me, that fills my cup. It's helping other people. I
That's
was a
awesome.
teacher. Like my previous job was a teacher. So like helping people just fills my cup.
Well, I love the help because it's, we have to continue to give to receive. And then
Yeah.
I love your stance against competition. So I come from sports, and my coach always said, you play to the level of your competition, right? So if we keep upping and helping our competition, we're then going to up level ourselves at the same time.
Yeah. Now I was a competitive athlete too. Like I had a Division I college football scholarship, blew my back out, lost it, but like I was super competitive, and like when I was playing sports back then, I was very cutthroat. But it's like, I have a lot of my needs met right now, so helping other people is just like that next thing, another more money. Put another $1 million in my bank account, it's not going to make me any happier, guaranteed. Well,
Yeah.
like
Well,
all my needs are totally met.
it was great having you on the show. Before we wrap up, is there any big things in the works happening? I mean, you did the rebrand. Anything else?
No, not right now. I'm just trying to get focused again. I am sitting in the sales manager position this year.
Oh, fun.
So we're managing that. I just want to get through this rebrand, get on, and start leading this team down, because sales season is going to be here very fast. So I just want to eliminate all the rest of the distractions so we can get very laser focused.
Well, that sounds great. I want to thank you for being a guest on the Fearlessness podcast. And if you guys want to hear more episodes, you can find them at libbyd.com or thefearlessness.com. And so that's a wrap for today's journey into the heart of fearlessness. Remember, every step we take is a move towards our own strength and courage. Keep walking through those fires, because on the other side lies a version of ourselves that's unstoppable. Until next time, stay brave, stay bold, and keep pushing forward.